My 52 male son, 25 male, got married last week to his longtime partner, 26 male. Our relationship was strained during his teenage years, and I could admit that it was my fault. I didn't make much of an effort to reach out to him, or to talk to him the same way I did with his sisters after the divorce with my then wife, 21 and 27. Their mother passed away a few years ago, and from there, he started to reach out to me more. He would call from time to time, or come over for dinner once in a while with his sisters. He also officially came out to me. His mother and sisters already knew, but he hadn't told me until a few years ago. Although I don't understand it entirely, it's not my place to say anything about who he dates. I was surprised when I received the wedding invite. I knew he was in a relationship, but I wasn't aware that it was serious. Regardless, my wife and I intended on attending the ceremony. My stepson, admittedly, I do have more of a relationship with him, and his family came over to visit us just a few days before the wedding. My wife didn't tell me that they were coming, so it was unexpected. She didn't want to leave them out and didn't think it was fair that the invite didn't extend to them. She didn't want me going either, so we opted out. I sent him a check as a wedding gift, but he declined it, saying that he doesn't want my money because I've made my point, and have decided who is more important to me. I feel that he is being a little dramatic and unreasonable. So, am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You prioritized a normal visit from your stepson over your son's wedding. It sounds like your wife didn't want you to go, and planned for her son to visit you so you'd skip the wedding. Your kid was trying to build a relationship with you, and you skipped out on one of the biggest, hopefully, once-in-a-lifetime days of his life, because your wife didn't think it was fair that her kid wasn't invited too. Does your son even know or have a relationship with a stepbrother? Does this trade-off sound at all fair to you, especially since you presumably told him you were going to be there? You're the a-hole. Wow. Some relatives your son never even had a chance to know came to town and weren't invited. Obviously a good reason for both of you not to attend. You suck. You're his last living parent, and you skipped his wedding for no good reason. You're the a-hole times 1,000. Wedding invitations don't normally come with extended family pluses, and to expect that without even having asked for it is insane. Your son wanted his father at his wedding, and you chose not to go because your wife surprised you with a sudden visit from her side of the family, and made up a BS excuse that they shouldn't feel left out, so you shouldn't attend. Dude, wake up and look at what is going on. Your wife is limiting your contact with your son. Your son would be right to cut you off. You've shown who and what matters to you, and it is not him. He's not being dramatic. I'd like to be more so. You, sir, have been a jerk. Haha. My son graduated from university and recently got a job. I've gotten in some financial trouble, so I asked him to help me out a little, and he reminded me of the time I canceled his membership in the sports club. It was more than 10 years ago, and told me to pay it all up myself and to not contact him again. Some background. More than 10 years ago, he was a member at this martial arts school and he enjoyed it. He went there every weekend and took part in tournaments and even got a bunch of medals and trophies. He wanted to become the best. But one day they hiked up the prices, went from an already ridiculous $30 to $40 a month. I told him I can't pay for it anymore, but he begged and bargained and even offered to give up his pocket money of $10 a month just so he could stay. I told him he could sign up for something else as long as it's cheap, but he never signed up for something else, just stood home all day long playing video games, reading and doing whatever. He brought that up twice in the past, such as when I asked him why he just spends all his time at home on the computer, and he told me it's my fault for canceling his membership. He just blamed his own apathy on me. There is so much he could do. The world is full of opportunities, but all he thought about was this one sport when there are hundreds of different sports. Or when I finally saved up enough for a big new TV for all of us. He only uses this as an opportunity to guilt-trip me. You have enough money for a huge TV, but not for my sports. His logic eludes me. Should we not enjoy life? I thought that after more than 10 years, he would have gotten over it. He didn't bring it up again either until recently. He wasn't much of a talker to begin with. Never talked about his day at school, his problems, or really anything. Just spent all of his time on his computer, bots, chatting with strangers, and all that other nerd stuff. Always kept everything to himself and never initiated a conversation. He used to go out with his friends, but at some point he stopped doing that too. When I asked him, he told me they moved to different places. He's always negative, gets irritated easily. I know it's not his fault that he's so easily hurt and only thinks negatively, but how do I fix him? He even blames his depression on me. It's all just so surreal. So many years he kept silent and played nice, only to lash out like this the moment he moves out. Even though I cooked and cleaned and did everything for him, just because of this one thing. I would get him to do therapy, but how do I force a grown man? I got him into therapy years ago too, but he hated it because it interfered with his sports. Now that he has his own money, can't he just start doing his own sports now? There shouldn't be an issue. I didn't have a choice back then, and now that he would financially be perfectly capable of helping me, he doesn't. Am I the a-hole? Is he? Can I fix him? It's been so long and he is still better. You're the a-hole. He was into a sport enough to be in tournaments and get medals and trophies, and you took it away over $10 that he offered to pay himself. And your reaction is, oh, just pick something else. Isn't it all the same? No, it's not. He spent so much time getting good at something that he liked, just to have you take it away for no reason. And cost isn't a reason if he offered to make up the difference. When you're a child, losing something you put that much effort in is devastating. He doesn't want just any sport. He wants that sport. And how could he have trusted you to not take away another sport too? So he didn't try anything else that you could take away. It's not apathy. It was protecting himself. Then you call his other interests nerd stuff and want to fix him because you don't think it's fair. Your reaction to say he can just start doing his sports now. It's so not the point. It's different when you're a kid. And you didn't just take it away. You broke his trust, took away all his progress, bought yourself a fancy TV, and now are asking for money. If I was him, I'd tell you to go take a hike too. Not the a-hole. Kids don't go no contact with their parents over not paying for a sports club. I feel like there's way more to this story than you're telling. That being said, you are an a-hole for denying your son an opportunity for no good reason. He offered to give up his allowance to cover the cost, so clearly you could afford to keep them in the club. And you are definitely an a-hole for expecting your son to give you money now. You are never entitled to anyone else's money. I'm baffled. The cost went from a whole $30 a month to $40 a month. That's peanuts. Why on earth would you cancel over the price of 2 large bags of chips? And then buy a TV, which I assume cost hundreds of dollars. I literally have trouble believing this is real, or the numbers are mistakes. And that's not even including the fact that he offered to pay the difference. What possible justification could you have for such an act of apparent cruelty towards your child? Why would you have canceled the membership over literally nothing? I doubt this is real, and I suspect you are the same troll who supposedly broke their stepchildren's electronics here yesterday. But on the off chance it is, then you are a colossal a-hole. My sister-in-law got divorced from her husband 4 years ago when he found out none of their 3 kids are his. He was devastated, but still offered to be their dad and co-parent. He even offered to pay her mortgage on her new home and buy all groceries. His stipulations were she would never touch his money, and he would do the shopping with the kids anytime they needed. He would buy nothing for her, pay her no alimony, and she would provide her own utilities and vehicle. She didn't like that she would have no control over his money anymore, and tried to sue for alimony. She lost. However, since he is not their father, she won't allow him in their lives. So I think that gives sufficient background. On to what's happening. Since she lost the proceedings, she has had a habit of dropping the kids off without telling myself, my husband, or even the maid who comes twice a week. It's been going on this way for 2 years with an infant in the mix now. She said it's because she only has a 2-bedroom apartment, and that we're family and we don't get a say. I usually work from home but had an in-office week to visit a new property my company owns. I got a call from my housekeeper that 3 young children and a baby were crying on my porch in the rain. I checked my camera, offered my housekeeper $500 to watch them for 1 hour while I wrapped up. I got home, called dear husband, and told him to watch the video. It was sister-in-law bringing kids to the door with literally nothing. No diaper bag, no backpack, no coats. 9-year-old starts crying. Shut the duck up, or Auntie Nacho won't watch you for this week. I'm not taking you. You'll go to jail for crying. Along with some other unhinged comments. I called the cops after discussing with dear husband. I showed the video, showed several prior unknown drop-offs, and asked if this counted as abandonment. Her 7- and 9-year-old also said they haven't eaten anything but crackers and water, and the baby was only getting instant breakfast. The kids are now in a state facility until our home is inspected for placement. Tomorrow, thank goodness. I text sister-in-law and told her this was the last straw, and I've already obtained a lawyer to gain custody of the children. I won't allow her to do this to them anymore. She did answer, almost 24 hours later, and called me a sanctimonious every word under the sun, and really laid in. She said I was just jealous I'm old and will produce no children. We were child-free by choice. However, I will not allow further aggression of these innocent children. Her own family is against her, and told her at least I will be a mother. Surprisingly, her ex contacted me, told me I was wrong and an a-hole for stealing her children. I was very confused about that. It has me wondering, was I wrong? Honestly, at this point, I needed the catharsis of typing or saying the whole mess out loud, and getting a reply from someone other than dear husband, because he firmly believes we are right. Not the a-hole. You didn't steal the kids, you saved them. Not the a-hole. You didn't steal the kids, you saved them. Not the a-hole, but your sister-in-law. Definitely an a-hole. Considering that this isn't the first time she's literally dumped her kids on your front porch, I do agree that it would be grounds for abandonment. I don't know why her ex called you an a-hole. Maybe he's being kept in the dark about what's really going on. Is he aware that she's been dropping her kids at your doorstep multiple times unannounced? Perhaps you'll be able to clear the air and you could ask if you'd like to visit them. They may not be his kids biologically, but it sounds like he still deeply cares about them. Not the a-hole. But who did he get his story from? Because if he got the story from sister-in-law, of course he got an altered version of it. Regardless, he might change his mind if he sees the video. My parents divorced when I was 5. I don't actually remember them together. My dad met my stepmom when I was 6. My stepmom tried to fill a second mom role, and my dad tried to facilitate that. At times it meant them asking my mom to let me go someplace with them on her time, or trying to get a Mother's Day celebration in. I know it hurt my mom, the thought of sharing the role as my mom. She never said anything. She never discouraged me at all. But there are always ways to tell if you know someone well enough and pay enough attention. I want to reiterate, my mom never interfered or said anything against my stepmom or dad. My noticing could be the reason I'm not closer to my stepmom, though I definitely don't despise her or see her as nothing. But a second mom is not something I ever considered her as. I do like her though. For my wedding planning and dress appointments, etc., I wanted to make it small and something for just me and my mom. I wanted the experience with her anyway, but I also wanted to give her something she doesn't have to share with my stepmom. This became more of a thing when my grandma and great-aunt, on my dad's side, called my stepmom mother of the bride on Facebook, and the three commented that it would be a great experience for her to see me pick a dress and stuff. After seeing that, I went to my stepmom, and dad technically, and told her I didn't want to give her a role as mom of the bride, and she wouldn't be doing the traditional mom of the bride stuff with me, dress shopping and fittings. I told her we could figure something else out. Asked was there anything else she'd want to tag along for, like looking at flowers. She was sad and asked me why I didn't want her as the second mom of the bride. I told her I wanted that just for my mom. Dad then brings up that my mom won't mind, and she'd want me to have both my moms there. I told him that he was wrong, that she only ever agreed to share it because she felt it was the right thing to do, but it hurt her. He looked stunned and asked how I knew. I told him those close to her always knew. He then said he never would have expected that from her, because she was always the perfect parent in person, and that was why they ended up divorcing, because he couldn't handle it and was envious of her. I told him nobody is perfect, and it's unfair of him to expect my mom to be. I asked him if he'd be happy to be one of my dads. He said of course not, but he always thought mom would be better than him. The whole conversation left my dad and stepmom with rough feelings, and she made it clear she was upset that after all these years, I wouldn't give her the love and respect to be included as a mom of the bride. Also, I've spoken to my mom about the overall topic before. She has never admitted it, but always said she wanted the best for me and for me to be happy. Her best friend confirmed it for me though. Am I the a-hole? You have a living mother. It's incredibly narcissistic for your father and your stepmom to think that she is going to serve in the role of your mother for your wedding preparations, when you have a living mom that you are close to. It's also completely unreasonable that these people hold your mother to a higher standard than they hold themselves. Not the a-hole at all. Not the a-hole. Marrying a man with kids doesn't give you an insta-family. It gives you a husband with kids. You set a reasonable boundary and even offered a compromise. They had just found out that they had been hurting your mom for all those years, and this is what they put forward? They could be gracious and let your mom have her mother-daughter moment while looking for a dress. Not the a-hole, but I'm not so sure about your father and stepmom. Also, it seems your dad was dumbfounded about hurting your mom in view of his reasons to divorce her. Communication is the key. Always. Hello. This post is about my ex-stepdaughter, Mary Angel, 24 years old, my ex-wife, Carolina, 49 years old, and me, male, 52 years old. I met Carolina about 9 years ago. Mary Angel was already a teenager, and her father was never in the picture, but she was always nice to me. Shy at the beginning, of course, but we built a bond, and I still consider her my daughter. She never called me dad, but sees me as family. Carolina, on the other hand, changed her attitude after we got married. I thought she was a nice person and a hard-working mother, but after the wedding and the move, she became rude, possessive, jealous, and treated Mary Angel as her maid. We had our little son, and her attitude got worse. I had to take care of that poor child almost by myself. Caro expected her daughter to do everything, but I wouldn't let her. Mary Angel told me she was like this before I came into her life. Then she started dating me, and it got better. But now it was worse. That's when I knew I couldn't live with Carolina anymore and filed for divorce. Mary Angel is a smart young woman and has a career in IT. But after the divorce, they moved in with Caro's sisters and their children, and it seems that no one in that house has any respect for her. Mary Angel called me earlier this month and asked if she could come live with me. She was tired of her family using her as their free tech support, so she made a website to help them in a more organized way. But the family was not happy with that, and the situation got worse. I told her she could stay with me, and she came by my 2-bedroom apartment that same week. She blocked her whole family, but now they are attacking me without mercy. Caro even called my boss and tried to get me fired. The police came to my door with a search warrant because someone reported me for sheltering a runaway teenager. It was resolved immediately when Mary Angel showed her driver's license, but it shows that Caro is escalating. I talked to my brother, my mom, and my dad about this, and they all told me I was stupid for letting my ex-stepchild live with me, that I should have no contact after my divorce, and this is happening to me because I don't mind my own business. I just wanted to help Mary Angel because she can't reach her full potential if she doesn't have a safe place to study and work in peace. But now I'm in a quandary, and I'm wondering if I was wrong to let her stay. Not the a-hole. Divorcing a husband, wife, doesn't always mean divorcing the children too. Your stepdaughter is an adult, and as such, can decide where she wants to live and who she stays in contact with. Not being related by blood doesn't mean you're not still family. She clearly trusts you enough to want to live with you over her blood relatives, and it was very generous of you to offer to let her live with you. Not the a-hole, and your brother and parents are heartless. This isn't about cutting ties with your ex-wife. This is about helping a young person who doesn't have a safe place to go. And you can help the problem with your ex by getting a restraining order, which will prohibit her from having any contact with you, whether directly or using other people to contact you on her behalf. Not the a-hole, but you need to get a lawyer and sue her for harassment. You also need to sue the police department, because there was no way that warrant was obtained legally.